Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
Hey everyone, it's Nick from the Phoenix Press. This topic came back up on Twitter on Tuesday, and it really got me thinking. I did a post about it, but I figured, probably best to expand upon my ideas here. Thus, I figured I'd dust off the old Comix Watch banner and do a one-off. If you like what you see here, please let me know. I might just bring this thing back full time. But anywho, let's get into the meat and potatoes of things, shall we? So, right now, there's a rising sentiment online that comic book movies are on their way out. They had their time in the sun, but now they should go the way of the Western. A superhero fatigue, if you will. Personally, I believe this to be as overblown as it is short-sighted. My belief is that if you look at the trends for the past, 30 to 40 years, you'll see several waves of movies that come in, blow up, then gradually peter off. There are a few years where you'll see a few flicks. Some may even signal what's to come. Blade! Sorry. Something Wesley snagged my tongue. But let's break down exactly what those waves actually are, shall we? Before we begin this, it is important to note that this is my personal opinion. If you think differently, have something you want to add, or just think I missed something, please, by all means, drop a comment down below. Now, I'll be going off of memory on this one, so if I do miss anything, like I said, please let me know. So we'll be starting off this impromptu retrospective with what I feel is the start of all this constant ebb and flow. Superman. While there most certainly had been other comic book films before this, I feel it's with this movie, the series of films, where you really start to see the trends reveal themselves. So, Wave 1, the Super Era, began when Superman soared onto the screen in 1978. It would not be hyperbolic to say it changed the landscape of filmmaking overnight. As 1 turned to 2, then 2 to 3, we saw a gradual decline in its quality, ultimately leading to disaster that was Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. The less said about that, the better. Flash forward to 1989, and we see the dawn of Wave 2, the era of Batmania. In this era, we began to see other films come out to jump on the trend, such as Blankman, Dick Tracy, The Phantom, and the very inspiration for Batman itself, The Shadow. Most of these were holdovers from the golden age of the 1940s. While the majority of them were at least decent, none of them really grabbed the cultural zeitgeist. But going back to the Bat, like Superman before him, the first 2 films are widely considered classics, while the other 2 are widely considered duds. That being said, #release the Schumacher cut. Though the years between 1997 and 99 honestly are a bit weird. You all would flay me alive if that did not mention Blade, a film based off the Marvel comic book character. A movie which now people are crediting for the rise of the modern Marvel movie, but at the time was really anything but. Marketed as a vampire action film and presented as such, the fact it was based off a comic was really relegated to the type of trivia you'd find passing around a high school cafeteria. So basically, I personally reject the modern reinterpretation of this film. It's a great movie, don't get me wrong, it is good. And certainly a sign of what was to come. I guess you could say a bit like of a test run for the full rollout. Yeah.
That comes later.
Alright, so here's where things get interesting. We have now arrived at Wave 3, the era of the Fox. Lasting from 2000 till about 2005, 2006, this era was dominated by films of 20th Century Fox, starting off with X-Men in the year 2000 and ending, at least in my opinion, with the Fantastic Four in 2005. It's in this time period we see the rise of what we now know as a comic book movie, or at least we start to see the first vestiges of what we would know it as. Tropes that have long since been tired, people are get tired of them, they began here. Franchises we love, such as X-Men and Spider-Man, got their start here. But as the emerging pattern shows, soon, people got tired of the style, and a new era was needed. It would take a while, though. Before moving on to the final era, I kind of feel it's important to note the 2005 to 2010 period, because it's a pretty big gap of time. Let's call it Wave 3.5, the era of transitions. This era overlaps with the next one, but we got to make a distinction between the two, as we really do see like two different types of movies running parallel to each other. Yeah, the thing about this time period that makes it really so tricky is you do have the rise of the MCU, more on that later, but you also have holdouts from the last era. Films such as Fantastic Four, Rise of Silver Surfer, X-Men 3, Origins Wolverine, and Spider-Man 3. A lot of threes. There's a lot of threes in there. These films, well, they certainly happened, but by the time they came out, it was clear they were outdated, a bit unwanted. And now that we've gotten that out of the way, we've arrived at a more modern era. Well, as modern as 2008 can be anyway. Ladies and gents, I give you Wave 4, the MCU era. An era that really needs no introduction. It's a time period we are currently in the final throes of. Like all eras before it, the MCU started off strong with the release of Iron Man, quickly dominating not only the nerd landscape, but the film scene at large. Its ascension all but confirmed with the release of 2012's The Avengers. Well, with that, the race was off. Every studio wanted a piece of this new shared universe pie. Most failed, biggest of them DC Comics, which, while having a strong start with Man of Steel, quickly fell prey to upper management's cold feet and vast amounts of insecurity, ultimately culminating in the botched team-up movie, Justice League. While Marvel fared better at the onset, as we all saw after the release of Endgame, they seemed to enter a bit of a listless period, where they threw everything at the wall and nothing really stuck. And that brings us to today. We are currently in what I would consider to be a cool-down period, where people's distaste for current trends are reflected in the box office, and a new thing has yet to appear. So what do you guys think? Are we set for another wave, or is this truly the end of the line? Which wave was your favorite? Make sure to let me know in the comments below. Likes and shares are also appreciated. If you like this video and want to see more, please let me know. This is a trial run of sorts, and I'm kind of hoping to make it a weekly thing. As always, this is Nick from the Phoenix Press, and remember, I can only show you the door. You're the ones to walk through it.